Hello, and welcome to another edition of Grown Folks Business on a Thursday evening. Um, Wanted to let everyone know that tonight's show is a little different. We're gonna be having a conversation that is to highlight some community partners of NC 100. Um, Tonight we're gonna have three wonderful individuals on who I'm going to introduce. Two are within the same organization, NCEOC, which I will allow them to break down that acronym and tell you more about what that is. But I'm going to say hello to Jasmine, who is what is your title, Jasmine? Can you quickly unmute and tell me what that is?
I am the Engagement and Programs Associate.
Engagement and Programs Associate, for something that is near and dear to my heart that I'm very familiar with, and that's the Portia Paris Fellowship. We're also joined by Luke, who is, and I'm not saying last names, not because I don't know him, I'm just not saying them all. You can see the first name, so that's what you get. So also joined by Luke from NCEOC and Lauren from NCEOC, which again, I'm going to let them break down what that acronym is and allow for each of our primary participants to introduce themselves tonight. We also have some of the usual suspects. Celeste, thanks for joining. Gregory and Julia, thanks for joining. I think Jay Dwayne is going to be off air, but in the comment section. And Danya, salute for doing what you do in the space. Greatly appreciate you. So I'm going to go from left to right, which is on my screen. And I do love that the three people that I'm here to have a conversation with and hear from about their organizations are in the middle. So, Lauren, I'm going to start with you. Just please tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're doing, where you are right now, and all of that good stuff, the normal icebreaker type conversation. So go ahead,
Sure.
Lauren.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here with you. My name is Lauren Tudor. I am new to North Carolina, but I live in Charlotte, right now. I come here by way of Cincinnati. We just moved here about a year ago, and in that time, we knew we loved the state, but we definitely fell deeper in love with the state. Um, I am the executive director of the North Carolina Employee Ownership Center, and I'm really excited to talk to you a little bit about what the work that we do throughout the state by way of employee ownership as a model for succession planning and legacy building. Um, we'll get into that stuff. You told us just the fun stuff about us. I'm originally from Indiana, grew up outside of Chicago, and just love what community looks like and how all the different ways it shows up.
We got to do the whole icebreaker thing now since I said the word. Give us a hobby, something you love to do.
Oh, my favorite hobby for real is actually throwing clay. I don't get to do it that often. Anybody who's seen the movie Ghost, it's not always that sexy, but it's a really great stress reliever. And I have found it to be so lovely because for one moment in time, you can just focus on what's in front of you and control what happens next. And it's very therapeutic in that way.
Awesome. Maybe I should try that instead of golf. I think about golf, but the part about controlling what happens next doesn't ever work out too well.
No, it doesn't. That's why I gave it up. I gave up golf a long time ago.
Man, I can't. I'm addicted. And Greg and Julia, Gregory's actually an artist, so I'm sure he appreciates the clay throwing. I didn't know that was the term, but I got it. Sounds good. Jasmine, tell us where you're from, where you are, where you're doing, and I know about the Eagles, so we share that passion and love. You can talk about that a little bit too, and also give us a hobby.
Okay. So hello everyone. My name is Jasmine Brown. I am a Durham native, born and raised in Durham, North Carolina. Currently in Durham now. Well, in that RDU area. I am a NCCU Eagle, proud Eagles. Okay. Anybody that is an A&T Aggie, it's all HBCU love, but we are better.
Don't do that.
And we just beat you all
a
couple weeks ago. So we're gonna go there,
Don't do that. The first it took y'all 5 years. Didn't y'all hold the whole people?
Celeste, cut it out.
A win is a win, okay?
Felton, you don't get to do that. Me and Jasmine are sisters, but you don't get to do that.
A win is a win, Celeste. You know, it's all HBCU love, but I mean, hey, a win is a win. Them Eagles, we stomped y'all a little bit. We'll take it. There we go. Fly high. Okay. Eagle pride. So a hobby of mine would be, I guess I picked back up reading more. So that has become my newest hobby as of now. So we'll see how that changes over some time. But reading, I've gotten back into that. So I'm happy about that.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I love when anyone engages in literature. I was going to share this in the context of the Paris Fellowship when we talked and unpacked that, Jasmine. But I read to some students yesterday at a high school in Graham, and I was able to find a story that I wrote some years ago, and that was actually published in a magazine, and I shared it with them. And I was talking about the importance of literacy, of course. And I got some really good moments with those kids. So we're going to have that incorporated in the Paris Fellowship when we go forward. To just, if you're reading what you like, then it's not that I hate reading type energy. So, find something you like and take to it. So thanks for sharing, Jasmine.
Yeah.
All right, Luke, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are and where you've been and your hobby.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Luke Hoffman, and I'm the regional director with NCEOC. I'm from Maryland originally, but my grandparents live in Western North Carolina in Ashe County. And so I ended up going to school also in Western North Carolina at App State. And then my wife is from Greensboro, so I ended up in Winston-Salem. So I'm in Winston-Salem now. I guess probably my biggest hobby is biking. I think sort of for like a similar reason to what Lauren mentioned about throwing clay. Like when I'm biking, all I'm thinking about is biking, and I'm not thinking about like work or chores or other responsibilities. And so I love just like getting outside, going on a bike ride. So yeah, it's been a big part of my life the last like year or so. So
awesome, Luke. I'm catching up. It's not been quite a year, but I actually dusted off my bicycle. Took it to some wonderful people that work on bikes for free on Sundays at the local park, Barber Park in Greensboro, who Greg and Julia know. So I took my bike there and got a new seat put on it, and I've been riding, man. I've done at this point in maybe 5 rides, I've probably gotten up to 100 miles just in total. So I've done like 16 miles, 18 miles. And then I'll do whatever I get in between. So yeah, it's kind of refreshing. And I know my buddy has some contraption that keeps up with how fast you're going and how far you're going. So we got up to like 21 miles per hour in Battleground Park, which is here in Greensboro. But yeah, you're absolutely right, man. I mean, the rush, the wind, the focus to climb that hill that you might be tempted to get off the bike and walk the bike up. So yeah. But I'm on a mountain bike, so it's a fun experience. I've taken on a couple of the mountain bike trails as well. Seems dangerous at my age, but I haven't fallen yet. So
yeah, you should go for it.
Yeah, and we should definitely link up on that, man. You don't ride together, people. You ride separately, but you stop and you got somebody to talk to. That's the beauty of really biking like that, man. So
yeah,
awesome.
And if you're in the Greensboro area, Burr Mill Park, I would recommend. Kind of, I guess that's right off Battleground or near Battleground.
It's way out. Yep, it's way north. And I hadn't been up out there thinking of riding a bike at all. I've hit the little par 3 in the golf course, the golf range a couple times, but
yeah,
I hadn't thought about riding out there. Appreciate that, man. That's definitely a place I don't mind going out to get some fresh air. It's beautiful out there. But so great. So now that we all know each other so well, you get to talk about your livelihoods and your professions at this point. We're gonna skew towards NCEOC and let Lauren and Luke tell us everything they can and everything they feel like they need to about the organization. And I'm already like curious. It sounds kind of like something that makes a union not necessary. It sounds like it's encouraging having some buy-in early. but I could be wrong. That's why we're here to talk about it and learn more. And you guys geographically are in two different spaces, ones that I'm very familiar with, but you're not even like a central location. You're actually living up to the first part of the acronym, NC. You're covering a little bit of area. So, Luke, tell us more. Tell us some of the things that kind of led you to getting involved with such an organization as well. So, and I'm going to ask you the same question, Lauren, but just tell us how you got involved with NCEOC and why this type of work is important to you.
Yeah, so I first learned about employee ownership while I was going to school at Appalachian State. I was studying sustainable development with a focus in community, regional, and global development. And we learned about employee ownership as just a more ethical way to do business, and a way to do business and own a business and run a business where everybody who works at the business and is creating value and creating profits for the company gets to benefit from that value that they're creating. And so it was something that just really interested me. I loved my major and everything I learned, but that was one thing that like really, really stuck with me. And I remember sitting in a class thinking, wow, I would love to have a job one day where I like help business owners or talk to business owners about employee ownership. And then I remember thinking at the exact same moment, like, I don't know anybody that's doing that. So like that will probably never happen, you know? And so now that like through doing an internship at a county government, and then being part-time at NCOC while doing an internship at the county government, and then that turned into a full-time role. It's kind of crazy that now here I am doing education to business owners about employee ownership. And so I feel like it's, pretty rare that people think, in a college class, like, oh, it'd be cool to have this job. And then they actually end up doing it, especially when it's something that's kind of niche and random in the grand scheme of things. So that's kind of sort of how I ended up here.
Luke, just real quick, how long? What's that time span you're speaking of? How long since your first introduction to this type of possibility, and now how long are you invested in it? So what's the breadth of that?
Yeah, so I guess I probably first learned about employee ownership in 2018, I think, and then started working with NCEOC about a year and a half ago.
Okay, cool. So something when I would apply to go to undergrad at UNCG, I remember filling out this paper because I was an adult student, non-traditional, and all of that jazz. And one of the questions that I answered was the why of my application. What made me interested in going back to school or going to school for the first time as an adult, going to college as an adult. And I said at that point in time, I wanted to see if I could work as hard for myself as I did for others. What you just described and what we're getting ready to learn more about, it sounds like there's buy-in from the person, and it sounds like there's something that motivates good performances, motivates you to actually be accountable, etc. So I'm interested in hearing that part as we continue as well. Lauren, how did you get involved with NCEOC and what makes it so important to you? What makes this work important to you?
Absolutely. So I come to this from the perspective of the business owner. 3 years ago, I started a business that really helps steward and guide nonprofits through building out their fundraising infrastructure. My background is really rooted in community building, community organizing, and nonprofit philanthropy. So when I launched my business, I knew at the onset that I wanted, you said it just so perfectly a minute ago, I wanted to see if I could work as hard for myself as I have so many years for other organizations. And when I was in the business, I also knew that it was very important to me to be able to hire staff, either capacity or through contractors, to expand our capacity that would equally help increase their personal net wealth. Wealth is something, the concept of it, that is something that is incredibly important to me. That's why I spent a lot of years figuring out how wealth shows up, particularly through job training. I worked a lot of years at a community foundation, and I saw a lot of wealth pass through that community foundation. And I was always curious how people built such massive amounts of wealth. And long story short, people build wealth by owning a business. That is how you get rich in this nation. And so as I was on the inception end of my business, I was like, all right, let's figure out different ways that we can incorporate a revenue share model, or, make sure that I set my staff up for success in ways that they want to keep working for the business that I built. And so when I got a call to join in CEOC, particularly in this leadership role, that was something that was a torch I wanted to continue to carry. And so I get to work with really passionate individuals like Luke, like our board, like Merrill, across this gorgeous state. And we get to champion what a shared path to prosperity actually looks like.
Well, I'm interested. I'm really, you guys really seem, I don't want to say excited because I think it's cliche, but you guys seem really, really into what this work is. And now I'm curious to understand how it works. And on the next side of that, on the other side of that question, also, what are the benefits of employee ownership? So if you guys want to do the dance of picking the question that you want to answer, kind of take a moment to process that. But how does this work? Lauren, can you talk about how this process works? If I own a business, do I get involved with you guys to see how I can get my employees to have a little skin in the game? Or is this something that you guys go and present to businesses that already exist? Who's chasing who in this equation?
Yeah, we do both of those things, actually. So the North Carolina Employee Ownership Center is really an education-based nonprofit. And because we are an education nonprofit, we really sit at the center of this giant ecosystem. And so we work with venture capital firms, business owners, legal entities, and financier structures that would really help educate a business owner like you on what their options are with succession planning. When we think about employee ownership as this general umbrella, there are really three models of employee ownership that we want to probably take note of today. One is through an employee stock ownership plan. That's where, in simplest terms, everyone literally owns a slice of the pie and everybody walks away a big winner, particularly when the business sells, when the owner sells the business and splits the profits amongst their employees. And then there are worker co-ops, which you have heard historically over time, and you probably patroned in your lifetime. We typically think of these as like your grocery stores or like really boutique shops like apothecaries or whatever. But worker co-ops exist in almost every industry that there is on the planet. Agriculture, manufacturing, tech, they exist everywhere. And worker co-ops are also very similar to ESOPs, where everybody has a one voice, one vote type of structure where they get to say and chart the course for the business direction. And then the lesser known model of employee ownership is through employee owned trusts. Now, those are typically more popular across in the UK, but we are starting to see an uptick of those entity structures being set up in the US. And essentially, that is where the business is owned by a trust, and then really respective shareholders really have access to what potentially might be profitable once that business sells as well. And so, Luke, did I miss anything in that? You can pop in there.
No, I don't think so. I can talk for a second just about sort of high level what the benefits are of employee ownership. So I think I really like how I heard someone else describe it one time as a triple win for the selling owner, for the workers, and for the community. So for the selling owner, when employee ownership is used as a succession planning tool, like Lauren was talking about, that business owner who's built their baby over the years, they get to sell their business to the employees. We know that a lot of businesses don't ever sell on the open market through business brokers and things like that. And so having the employees buy the business and own the business, that gives a guaranteed buyer for the owner. They get to cash out and retire or exit the business and move on to whatever they want to do next. And then for the employees, they have the opportunity to build wealth. And obviously that kind of from like a wealth inequality standpoint, that's kind of the big one for the employees. And then like Lauren mentioned, depending on the form of employee ownership, not only are there wealth building opportunities, but they can also participate in decision-making in the company as well. And then for the community, instead of that business potentially shutting down if it were to not sell or being, bought by an out-of-state private equity firm or something like that, that business that's rooted in the fabric of the community stays open, and those jobs stay in the community as well. And so I think, like I said, I think it really can be a triple win for the selling owner, who gets to cash out, for the workers to build wealth and be decision makers, and then for the community as well.
This sounds amazing. So it's not just some type of support; it is an enhancement for the business. There's something that makes it more valuable to be aligned with you guys than not. So about that part, if I'm curious and I want to know more, how do I go about that, and what does it cost me?
Yeah, it costs nothing, actually. Like I mentioned, we're an education-based nonprofit. And so while we do offer workshops and other specialized events that do often incur a nominal fee, typically you can call NCEOC and get on the phone with either Luke or myself, sometimes together, and we'll walk you through more or less a discovery call. And that's where we really kind of get into the nitty-gritty about what your business is. How many employees do you have? What is your annual profit, revenue? What are some of your expenses? What are your goals that you hope to see? Because what that allows us to do is set you up for success with that ecosystem of service providers that I was mentioning earlier, with probably plugging you into touch with a legal entity who can help draw up the paperwork, because we're going to need somebody to do that, or another service provider who might be able to offset some of the financing, and help evaluate the profitability of the business as well. So we often like to encourage people who are thinking about succession planning and adopting some sort of EO model to think about to really, ideally, if you can, begin with the end in mind. But if not, if you've been running this business for 40 years and you're just ready to let it go, but you don't want to close up your doors, we can absolutely talk through what those options might be for employee ownership and succession planning for your employees.
So I'm a big fan of acknowledging our shared humanity, and I think this kind of lends itself to that aspect of things. When as an owner, things may be going in a direction that is not for the best outcome your employees may have. This creates a way to kind of push back against the ultimate fallout that could occur. So this really sounds great. Luke, what's the law aspect of this thing, man? I know some lawyers have to be involved. Are these lawyers working and helping pro bono, as they say, or is there some way that you, as a nonprofit, actually pay them for their services while they assist the people that reach out to you and need your assistance?
Yeah, so after meeting with us, a lot of the service providers will kind of have an initial consultation or conversation for free. But then as they go kind of further down the conversion process and actually get into business valuation and the kind of the financial and legal side of things, though there is a cost associated with those things. NCEOC doesn't directly help fund those types of conversions, but there are a number of organizations around the country who kind of help with that conversion process. And for example, there are companies who they sort of act as like private equity employee ownership organizations. And so they'll buy companies, they'll do the conversion process, and then that company will be employee owned. And so there are different funds, organizations like that who can help kind of shoulder some of the cost of doing a conversion, because especially depending on how many employees there are, the size of the business, the form of employee ownership being used, whether you're using outside financing, like it can get complicated and it can get expensive. And so that's where some of those organizations are able to kind of help ease some of that cost associated with it. So yeah, kind of depends on the situation and the company and different factors, what exactly that looks like.
Gotcha. But it sounds like you guys may remove some of the fear factors associated with, coming into a space that changes how my business functions, or not functions, but it changes how my business operates at the core level. I'm not the same as I once was, even if I'm doing all of the same things. So that sounds like you're good shepherds in changing certain dynamics within the company. Question for either of you, and feel free, whoever has the quickest trigger, I guess, on the mute button, Lauren or Luke. Can you guys give us, or if there's one that needs to be shared by both of you guys, I would love to hear it. Personal experience of working with a client and maybe seeing them through this process and some kind of, I guess, good outcome that you could share, because I don't think there would be a bad one in this situation. So whoever unmutes first and has a story on hand, maybe tell us about somebody that came and got some of your services and they're running with it now.
I think Luke's got it. He's been there just a teeny bit longer than me, but I'll chime in on the side.
Okay. Well, one that I want to highlight, that this was sort of like just after I joined NCEOC, but was one that at our big employee ownership celebration that we did last October, we celebrated this company. They're called ShopBot Tools, and they're based in Durham, and they create computer numerical control devices that cut different materials, and they're an employee ownership trust. And I think why I wanted to highlight them is they're North Carolina's first employee ownership trust. So employee ownership trusts have been more common in the UK for a long time, and then more recently kind of were reintroduced to the US, and have become a more popular model because they're really flexible, and they're in the grand scheme of things much cheaper to set up and to administer. And so I would say now, talking to business owners interested in employee ownership, a lot of the owners we talk to are really interested in employee ownership trusts, because there isn't as much of a financial burden as there is with an ESOP. With an ESOP, there's really great tax savings, but it's also expensive to administer. So it really is only beneficial for larger companies. And then worker cooperatives have a lot of great things going for them. But there are like cooperative principles that a cooperative needs to kind of govern and run itself by. And so for owners who sort of want the flexibility to set up the ownership structure and the governance structure in kind of just whatever the way they want, the EOT provides a really great model to do that. So yeah, I would just say keep an eye out for employee ownership trusts. I think both in North Carolina and around the country, we're going to start to see a lot more of those kind of in the employee ownership world.
Great. Lauren, you want to add anything to that? Or so, Lauren, can you explain what the trust does that is counter to the way we understand businesses that are just singularly owned? Can you unpack that a little further? This is fascinating information, and some of it's just new to me. So I'm very interested. What is this trust thing? What does that do? How does that shift the dynamic?
Yeah, sure. It's very much like, and I do apologize for the background. I'm doing double duty. We're actually at a conference representing NCOC this week, so apologies for whatever is going on in the background. But essentially, a trust is very much operated the same way any other trust would operate, where the entity would be owned by a board of trustees, and then they would essentially make decisions on the longevity and future projectability of the business. And with the trust, it works out really well for a profitable company like ShopBot, but they have such few owners at the top that I think the three owners at the top would really benefit very well from the business sells. I do apologize. I'm so sorry. Luke, can you chime in there real quick?
Yeah, I'll just chime in and add that I know, I'm not sure exactly how many years ago it was, but a number of years back, state trust law changed in North Carolina to say that the beneficiary of a trust can be an idea. And so in this case, the idea is the employees. And so kind of the beneficiary of the trust that's owning this company is the employees. And so in comparison to some other forms of employee ownership, where the employee owners kind of own stock or equity in the company that they then receive as a retirement benefit, or if they leave the company. For the trust, they benefit in profit sharing, generally year to year, just during their employment tenure. And so while they're an employee, they're a benefit of that trust. And so I've heard some people say naked in, naked out with a trust, which isn't the case with the other forms of employee ownership.
So just kind of winding down, can you guys please maybe throw in the chat your link to your website, any contact information that you'd like for us to share, and also email me something that I can get maybe posted and get a link also put up when we publish the show. Maybe we can put it under the title or something. Last words for you guys on this topic of what sounds like an amazing organization. Are there any things that you cannot leave out of this equation? What's missing?
Absolutely. I have a final thought. Thank you for your patience back there. If you want to know a little bit more about the concept of employee ownership, who are the players in the game, other businesses across the state, I'm going to invite you to an event. We're actually hosting a fantabulous event in October on Wednesday, October 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. in Winston-Salem for those who are there. It's our signature celebration that lifts up employee ownership. And you'll see from real life perspectives from people who have recently converted their businesses. You'll hear about their whys. You'll meet other people in the industry and figure out if this is a model you might want to actually adopt. We like to provide really fun drinks and fun and stories, but also that opportunity to connect with local business owners and community leaders so that we can further build out the ecosystem that is the banner of employee ownership. We will drop the link to register for that in the chat as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's also free. I forgot to mention the best part. It's actually free.
It's free 99 or free? Just free.
Free 99. 99.
I like it. So yeah, please drop all of that information. It was October 25th, correct? Okay, October 25th. Drop everything you can in the chat, and then again, email me these things separately, and we'll get them out on the links that we send out and post on. It's not Twitter anymore; it's X or something like that. But Luke, any final words as far as NCEOC goes?
No, I don't think so. Thanks for having us, and yeah, definitely if you can come to the event, we'd love to have you.
Awesome. Well, I know you guys said you would hang around a little bit and hear something about the Paris Fellowship, which Jasmine is going to talk about for a bit, and then we can all say goodbye as we normally do in this great space at one time. But Jasmine, I knew Portia. She was near and dear. You know that I've talked about her in many spaces and places, and she was just a wonderful woman, and I'm so glad that we have someone like yourself to build this continuous bridge of the work that she was so much involved in, and that's uplifting youth, valuing them, and showing that where we think they fall short, they actually can just leaps and bounds impress us if we allow for it. So I'm glad to have you on board doing what you do, but tell us what you're doing for the Portia Paris Fellowship.
Okay. And if you want to jump in at any time, Felton, because I know you're helping out with it too, just jump in, say anything. So like Felton said, I am restructuring our Portia and Paris Fellowship. It was recently called NC Leap. So from 2017 to 2021, it was NC Leap. And that is the Leadership Empowerment and Advancement Program. Like I said, we restructured it and named it after Portia. She did pass away in, was it 2020, Felton? Or
2021, I believe it was. So what's this? Yeah, it was 2021.
Okay, yeah. So she passed away in 2021, and in a great way to honor her and remember her legacy, NC 100 has picked up the baton and wanted to keep her legacy going through our fellowship. So we have a leadership and development enrichment cohort program. So we service students in Rockingham County. We target Black and Brown communities, and our students are aged from 8 to 14. That's our intake age. So rising third grade to ninth grade students, those are our target audience for incoming students. So we will hold new cohorts every 2 years. So we are accepting applications now for our very first cohort. So we're really excited about this. It's been a lot, but it is amazing. I just feel like it's going to be really amazing. We have a lot of things lined up for the students. We will do a lot of in-person, like in chairs, like in classroom type participation, but we do also have a lot of activities outside of classroom structure. So inside and outside of Rockingham County. So things that we plan to do with the students, we're going to do college tours for students who would like to go to college. We do want to focus in on students who don't feel like they want to go to college, because not all students want to go to college after they graduate high school. Some kids want to go into career fields. So we will do a lot of career pathway things with them. So if a child wants to do like plumbing or electrical type things, we want to be able to introduce them to plumbers who have their own businesses in Rockingham County or even in Greensboro or in the surrounding area. Because our students will be Black and brown, we want to introduce them to Black plumbers and Black electricians who have thriving businesses, because that is something that is possible. And we want them to know that that is possible. A lot of kids can't see beyond like their short reach. They can't see like the bigger picture, and we want to be able to paint that for them. So that has a lot to do with Paris Fellowship. Am I missing anything, Felton?
No, and I'm going to do what they say in the hip world. I'm going to big you up, because the next question is, why are you involved in such a program? What compels you to do this type of work? But I'm going to share a quick story. My first time meeting Jasmine, she did something that I thought was amazing for a young man that calls me Uncle Felton. She uplifted this guy in a most wonderful way, just boosted his confidence. Young guys, maybe 11 or 12, and he was kind of, a little upset about his adolescent school experience at that point. And Jasmine and some of her friends at a coat giveaway that she holds every year just surrounded him and gave him all the compliments. And I didn't see his feet touching the ground when we left out of there that day. So that costs you nothing but a little time and a little positive energy. And I appreciated that so much. So I know some of your why, but can you tell us on Grown Folks Business, what's some of your why for doing this type of work?
Let's see. It's changed over the years. So when I went to school and college, I wanted to be an attorney, but I wanted to be a corporate attorney because I wanted to make all this money. So like that was my focus. Make money. That's just what it is. But just in growing up and seeing friends go to jail or get caught in the judicial system or just all that type of stuff, it changes your perspective on how things could go for people who have access and awareness to different avenues in life. And so that's one of my big things. And especially when it comes to Black males, because we lose a lot of them to the penal system, and we lose a lot of them to mental health. As I've learned that Black men have the number one suicide rate. And so not enough is spoken about when it comes to mental health and how they are suffering. And so being able to teach children while they're young, because if you catch them while they're young, you'll be able to help uplift them, give them the tools they need, give them access to things that they don't have, make them aware of things they don't know. That's something that brings me joy. That's something that I sleep well at night knowing that that's what I do. And these are our next leaders. Like I heard it all the time when I was a little kid, when people say, well, y'all are the future. And you don't think about stuff like that when you're a kid, but once you actually become an adult, that really resonates with you as like, we were really the future. Like, we are the future still. And so you want to be able to nurture children that are coming through, because they are our future leaders. They are our next governors, mayors, district attorney, just everything. So that is why I do what I do, because I want to help empower our Black students, like our Black and brown community, because we're losing them at such high rates. And if we can save one, that is a lot to me. But as many as I can along the way, that is my pride and joy.
Great. I can tell you that with 100%, no doubt, Portia would be a fan, and she would truly appreciate your hands being in this endeavor. And you know, a couple years ago, we were doing NC Leap. Greg and Julia, I think you remember that. We were in the squares because COVID was going on, and it was kind of hectic. Then Portia was still with us, and she participated. Man, she had all the energy for these type of situations, especially where youth was involved. And I miss her dearly. Jasmine, if that is the reason, if you know that there's something to being a socially responsible person, where do you think the Paris Fellowship goes? What do you see in the future? What do you see coming up down the road?
Give me a time span, like 3 years, or give me like 10 years.
3 to 5. 3 to 5.
3 to 5 years. Okay, so in let's say 5 years, we'll be 2 cohorts in. So there's about 30 students that we'll have, like 24 to 30 students that we'll have. I see us doing a lot of community involvement with them, making sure they give back to the community that they are part of, showing them that is the way. Once you start reaching goals, you make sure you give back to your community. I see our big New York trip. I see, because I'm excited about that trip. I'm probably more excited about it than the kids will be. I see. I see so much I can't even really tell you. I have so many ideas and things that I think I'm more excited about it than the students will be. Just to see them get out of the atmosphere which they are, and then engage in different things, going to different counties, states, cities, knowing that there is more out there. So 5 years, I see 30 students, a nice big budget for us to work with, a lot of community involvement. I see more community members being engaged. I see us fully integrated with RCS, and them being very supportive of the program, because they've seen 24 kids go through the program. So they understand that it's a much needed thing in Rockingham County.
Awesome. And that's a great answer. We describe this process sometimes as building the plane while it's flying, right? So to sum that up, Jasmine, I see us flying at a Mach speed, and getting some nice maneuvering in during the course of it, a couple of loop-de-loops, and doing some amazing things. I look forward to participating and witnessing those new heights being reached. We've talked about employee ownership, which lends itself to employee empowerment. Jasmine, to connect all of these dots we've thrown out there tonight, how good does it feel? Because I'm a piece of that puzzle with NC 100, but how good does it feel to be empowered, to be trusted, and to be supported in endeavors such as the Paris Fellowship?
It feels really good, especially being supported in Reedsville, because I'm not from Reedsville. And so it's not easy breaking into a community that doesn't know you, and you have no ties or threads there. So being supported in a city that I'm not from, because they understand the magnitude of the program, they understand the name of they understand the person who the program is named after, is a really good feeling. And to know that we're carrying on such a really good legacy, I think that's one of the things that really drives the program. So it's a good feeling, very warming.
Absolutely. And as Miss Portia Parrish used to say, all roads lead to Reedsville. So you found yourself where you should be, because that was her favorite thing to say. And I'm not from Reedsville either, but I've spent so much time there, and I've really become a big fan of Rockingham County and what they hold value in, and that's community. That's my connective. That's my connectivity to them, and Portia was was a huge part of that. So all roads do truly lead to Reedsville. Um, we're wrapping up. So any final words from any parties involved on the call? Greg and Julia, I'm so glad that you guys can hang around, but I know you love this type of stuff, and I know you really appreciated Portia as well. So this was wonderful. Luke, Lauren, Jasmine, we all good? Any last words?
If anybody's here from Rockingham County and knows any students that they think would be a great asset to this program, or this program would be something beneficial for them, please have them apply. Look at our eligibility criteria. If they fit that model, please apply. Please spread the word to all of your networks. We would appreciate it. And we just want to reach as many students as we can, students and families, because this is a collaborative work. So it's not just the students, it's the parents as well, the community. So it takes everyone to raise kids and make them like model citizens.
Appreciate it. That structure, we got to provide it sometimes, and it's just a little time, little energy. And if you can, Jasmine, or just maybe send it an email, Danya, if you can capture these links and include them in the broadcast when you submit it to the other media websites, and maybe Jasmine, you can send it or post it really quickly in the chat, and we can capture that one as well. This has been great, guys. I really appreciate you all making the time. I really appreciate you guys telling us about something I had no clue about, that functions in the way that it does, and increases someone's participation in things that are intricate and intimate to them, to making a living, and feeling good about the work they do and being secure in that. I mean, that's an awesome situation. And Jasmine, truly appreciate you taking things forward in honor of Portia, and doing such a wonderful job so far this year, and really getting us ready to kick this thing all the way off. So looking forward to October and what may come. Lauren, Jasmine, Luke, Greg, and Julia, thanks for joining. Celeste, Jay Dwayne, thanks for dropping in. Danya, appreciate you doing all you do in the space. Everyone have a wonderful evening, wonderful night. The links are in the chat, and hopefully we can capture all of that and place it with the show when it uploads. Thanks, guys. Y'all have a wonderful night.